Administrative Assistant. Module 1. Overview for the new Administrative Assistant. Introduction to the module. The Administrative Assistant, also known as Executive Secretary, Private Secretary, Personal Secretary, or Office Administrator, is one of the most vital jobs in any firm. The profession necessitates adaptability, talent, accuracy, efficiency, and a persistent desire to learn more. This lesson covers the numerous components of an administrative assistant's employment, from defining the need for one in a firm through the hiring process and interview suggestions. It also emphasizes how an administrative assistant should act and behave before, to, and after being hired by a firm. Topics to be covered. Why is it requisite for you to exist? What are employers focusing for? Interview tips. Apprenticeship program. Summary. Why is it requisite for you to exist? As an administrative assistant, you're recruited to relieve your busy boss of a lot of labor, particularly office procedures and other tasks that don't require your boss's personal involvement. You'll serve as a go-between between your supervisor and the rest of the team. You'll occasionally function as a buffer. Depending on the size of the firm, you may be asked to do work in sales, banking, billing, payroll, accounting, advertising, public relations, buying, and other areas that are generally outside of the secretarial function. Everything you perform for your boss should be as near to what he or she would do if they weren't engrossed in work that couldn't be assigned as feasible. Every CEO fantasizes about having the ideal administrative assistant, and every administrative assistant fantasizes about having the ideal boss. We hope you and your employer get along so well that you can operate as a team, each trusting the other to shoulder a portion of the weight in a cooperative manner. What are employers focusing for? Knowing what an employer looks for in an ideal administrative assistant will help you show yourself in the best light during the job interview and the crucial first weeks on the job. Here are a few of the most key tenets. Punctuality. A company needs an administrative assistant that is always on time and available throughout business hours. In a busy business, an administrative assistant who consistently arrives even a few minutes late or misses work may cause trouble. The employer is well aware that such an administrative assistant may not be genuinely enthusiastic about the job. This individual will be passed over or fired in favor of someone who has a higher regard for the job, a secretary who is always on time and available when required. Consistency. A recruiter looks at the applicant's personality and temperament to see if he or she is trustworthy. Would the applicant, for example, hurry home at exactly 5 p.m. despite an office crisis, or would he or she accept enough responsibility to volunteer to stay late if an emergency arose? The ability to grasp. Employers want to know about the applicant's educational background, including not only official programs and degrees, but also self-study and single courses. This information reveals the applicant's eagerness to learn as well as his or her ability to do so. For example, an employer may expect that you are familiar with the specific computer program that the firm already employs, but may not be worried if you demonstrate the ability to learn rapidly. Willingness to do what is asked of you. An employer is looking for someone who will attentively and voluntarily follow directions. Naturally, a smart administrative assistant will quickly take over and handle specific jobs in a new way to save time or enhance outcomes. However, an administrative assistant who seeks total authority may eventually become resentful of the boss's directions, discussing or challenging each one. Though an administrative assistant's insight is valued, an employer normally prefers not to debate matters on which he or she has already made a decision. The employer is more concerned with other issues than discussing all of the reasons for pursuing a policy. As a result, the employer seeks an administrative assistant who will carry out a choice regardless of how many options may appear evident or what a previous boss did in a similar circumstance. To put it another way, the employer is looking for someone whose personality will be a benefit rather than a liability. Anonymity and commitment. Despite the fact that these skills are hard to discern during a single interview, every manager wishes for them in his or her administrative assistant. Nothing is more unwanted in a workplace than the human sieve, who incessantly chit-chats about every discussion overheard, spreads idle rumors like wildfire, and must be continually screened from secret projects and information. That administrative assistant's job will be cut short no matter how efficient, educated, or experienced he or she is. And there's more. A business looking for an administrative assistant is looking for more than just these essential qualities. During a lengthy interview, the employer will be searching for quick wit, flexibility, job devotion, a specific degree of quality and level of discourse, and civility. This last quality is critical for building positive relationships with clients and coworkers. Interview tips. Despite a natural propensity to feel worried, it is best to remain as comfortable as possible throughout your interview. Arrive on time, and be well groomed and dressed. Otherwise, the appointment may be cancelled at the front desk. You'll create a bad impression if you try too hard to market yourself. Allow the employer to build his or her own initial opinion of you. After all, he or she is aware of the sort of administrative assistant required and may choose to work with a specific personality. If you're not the right fit for the job, it's best for both of you if another candidate is picked. During an interview, the employer may try to gauge your attention span by asking questions like how many sick days you've had in the past and how many extracurricular activities you participate in. Don't lie about previous sick days since they can and will be checked. If you have a lot of extracurricular activities, just highlight those that help you with your employment, such as night classes or professional associations. You don't want to come across as too preoccupied to work. If you receive a job offer, the salary may be less than what you think you're worth. There's often a discrepancy between what we'd like to make and what we can make. Job seekers fresh out of school, in particular, may feel this way until they have a better understanding of what the market pays. Before you turn down a job only because of the pay, make sure you know what comparable secretarial and administrative assistant roles in your region pay for someone with your degree and experience. Then, after a brief time of probation, see if you'll be eligible for a raise. Finally, examine whether the employment offers prospects for promotion and more responsibility. While it may not appear so to you as a job seeker right now, a large income is rarely more significant than professional fulfillment. Apprenticeship program. Even if you have a lot of experience, you must be willing to serve an apprenticeship with your new company if you get a new job. Your previous experience may have just served to teach you how to learn rapidly and analyze new scenarios. Almost every everyday activity, including mail distribution and opening, may have a distinct manner in your new business. There will very certainly be a filing system you haven't used before. It's possible that you'll be required to utilize letter forms, paragraphing, punctuation, and abbreviations that a former company rejected. You can also find out that your new employer has a large vocabulary with many phrases you'll need to learn, or that he or she has a limited vocabulary and requires your help. Will your new boss want you to compose a letter precisely as he or she says it, or will you be allowed to add to and take from? Will the employer merely give you the bare bones of what he or she wants to say and ask you to put the letter together in suitable format yourself? Your requirement for adaptability extends to the new office's computer system. There are likely to be significant changes between the gear and software you utilized in school or at a previous employment and what you need today. Even the same software package's latest version may have a different user interface and functionalities. Even if it takes staying late at work to study the manual and experiment, you must become acquainted with the new computer and software. Within your first few weeks on the job, you may find yourself coming up with hundreds of ideas and recommendations, stimulated by your new surroundings and previous experience. When you have a recommendation to make, keep in mind that it may have already been made and rejected for good cause. Don't take it personally if one of your ideas is rejected. You'll be able to make a better proposal once you've gained a deeper understanding of the organization and its processes. At the same time, if your supervisor asks for your opinion, don't be hesitant to provide it. The zeal with which a new employee offers advice, recommends adjustments, and transfers approaches from previous positions may simply be a desire to be acknowledged for his or her abilities. In this circumstance, doing your best, learning quickly, following directions precisely and intelligently, and cooperating with coworkers are the finest ways to demonstrate your worth. Consider others above and above the call of duty. A little additional generosity will cost you nothing and will pay you in terms of increased trust and camaraderie among your coworkers and boss. Summary. In this module, you have learned the importance and necessity of having a secretariat in a company. To determine whether or not a candidate is trustworthy, a recruiter examines the applicant's personality and temperament. An administrative assistant who is always on time and available throughout business hours as required by a corporation. An employer looks for an administrative assistant who can make a decision regardless of how many possibilities are available or what a former boss did in a comparable situation. To put it another way, the employer wants someone with a personality that will be an advantage rather than a burden. Tips and tricks for interview. A new employee's eagerness to provide advice, suggest changes, and transfer ideas from past jobs might just be a desire to be recognized for his or her talents. In this situation, the greatest methods to exhibit your worth are to do your best, learn quickly, follow guidelines accurately and intelligently, and collaborate with coworkers.